Hello and welcome to another episode of the Talking NorCal podcast, Active NorCal's official podcast. I am your host, Zach O'Brien, and with me here, as always, it's LaBob James. How you doing, Bob?
Ooh, I like that one. I'm feeling great.
Feeling good?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a weird day today. It's a weird time in Northern California, and we'll get into the wildfires burning right now, not only in NorCal, but throughout the state and throughout the entire West Coast. But we actually have a really fun interview today. It's with Shon Northam. He is, I like to call him the dude of NorCal. He's kind of like the Big Lebowski. And he actually went viral on our social media pages and became basically, he's one of my favorite people to follow in NorCal. He's just a crazy character. So that's going to be a lot of fun coming up later. Before we get into this episode, I want to tell you guys about the Nero Flask. The Nero Flask is a water bottle with a filtration system built in. So if you ever run out of water in the wilderness, you can use your water bottle and it will clean the water. It will filtrate the water from whether it's a creek or a river or a lake. It'll clean the water for you. It's a great tool for hikers and any outdoor adventurers. So you can get yours by going to neroflask.com, neroflask.com, and use the code NorCal. You'll get 10% off. Honestly, this thing is sweet. It's awesome. You'll never run out of water with this thing. So I recommend it for everyone. And that's it. Let's just hop right into this episode with the Tahoe's Hella NorCal.
NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and I could spend all day just chilling in the South Bay. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and Darren knows how to do to kick it down in Santa Cruz. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and we get a little cray-cray when we visit the East Bay. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal.
So it's that time of year again. The national media points its cameras right towards Northern California as we have wildfires everywhere. And I do mean everywhere. So it was, I guess, Saturday night it started with the most insane lightning thunderstorms I've ever seen.
Came out of nowhere.
They had some thunderstorm warnings, but they had no idea what was coming. They had no idea that 10,000 lightning bolts were going to hit the state in 3 days. So we were glamping up in Sonoma, and we were awakened by this huge boom of thunder in the middle of the night. Huge, lightning bursts in the sky. It was crazy. Where were you when the first bolts came out?
I was also glamping. I was in kind of northern Shasta County. And it just kind of started to get gloomy, and it wasn't really too lightning in the area I was in, but it started to rain, which was
weird,
out of nowhere, and it was huge, really big raindrops, which is indicator of kind of those lightning type storms. So it was definitely weird, but luckily the area I was in didn't get any actual lightning storms.
Yeah. So the first night, Saturday night, it was the Bay Area, like San Francisco got it a ton, and sort of the North Bay up in like Sonoma, Napa area. And then it moved inland on Sunday night. And Sunday night, you were still up there on Sunday night, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So here, I'm not joking. It was 12:30 at night, and our house shook. That's how violent the thunder boom was. It was thunder boom. It was huge. It was crazy.
I drove home Monday, saw lightning the whole drive home.
Oh, did you really? Yeah. So it moved inland, and they definitely didn't predict that all these lightning strikes were going to move inland, and they basically moved. They went from the North Bay over to Sacramento and up, and they made it all the way up into Redding. So there were over 10,000 strikes in 72 hours, which caused 367 new wildfires. There were already wildfires burning. 367 new fires in 3 days. So it's been a terrifying couple days because we knew this was going to develop, right? We knew that some of these were going to get out of control. There's red flag warnings all over the place. And a lot of people are evacuated from their homes right now. And it's just, it's summer in Northern California. I don't know what else to say about it.
I mean, we started this podcast under quarantine, and this year has been a very dry year. So we have been kind of talking about this, the coming of this, since the beginning of this podcast. Now, we hate talking about it, but again, we talk about things that affect going outdoors and doing things of active lifestyle, kind of adventure type stuff. And these fires are going to affect your ability to do that. So we're not like a news organization that we're trying to just tell you what you already probably know, but it's important to talk about this stuff because not only does this prevent certain areas from being hiked or visited as just a visitor, a tourist, if you will, but it also the smoke in the air also affects your ability to go outdoors and be safe in a number of different other ways. So that's why it's important we talk about it.
It's literally raining ash today. We went outside and our cars are covered in ash. The Lake Berryessa, which is a popular outdoor destination, is evacuated. We were just up there, I know Guerneville, where we were glamping, is evacuated. That's right near the Armstrong Redwoods, where we spent all of our time. It absolutely, I also read, and I cannot confirm this, that the Independence Trail up by Nevada City is damaged. So, I really don't want to get into too many specifics because you never know, if we're going to get too hyped up about something and then they contain it or we're not hyped up enough and then it gets out of control, right? We don't want to talk too much about this because, as a podcast, you're not necessarily reaching people in real time like you'd like to. But this is, it's just become so much of the norm. And, we hit late July, August, September, even into October, November, and this is just what our life is. I mean, there were rolling blackouts because of the heat wave.
I got home from my trip on Monday, no power at my house in Sacramento.
We lost power on Saturday night, and which I don't fully understand. They said that it's a basically you're overusing the grid, because too many people are blasting their air conditioning and everyone's staying inside because no one wants to go outside because it's 110 degrees. So it's just another annoying thing from PG&E, which, I sort of support them, turning off power for short bursts of time when it could cause wildfire. They do need to fix all their lines and everything. But this is I just don't believe that they don't have enough power to feed everyone. That's ridiculous to me. Fortunately, I live in an area that's not PG&E, so I don't have to deal with them, which is great. And I know we didn't lose power the entire time we were gone. But this is it. This is every year we come to expect this. You don't know when it's going to happen. You don't know where it's going to happen. You just know it's going to happen in some way, shape, or form. Usually we get lightning fires like this, and they typically don't turn out as big. Usually they're deep in the wilderness, and so they're not near populated areas, in which case they can kind of let the forest burn out a little bit. They don't need to put all their resources to them. But these, there's a ton in Butte County, a ton all over. I read there's some new ones in Glenn County. And I actually read this morning that CAL FIRE basically ran out of resources and are asking firefighting crews to come from out of state.
And I think it's important. I wanted to mention this. I'm glad that you mentioned CAL FIRE. It's important for us to, as we always do, make sure that we think about all of the firefighters and the first responders that are out there protecting our homes and trying to keep us safe, because these guys are putting their lives on the line to help save us and the communities we live in, and they got a rough job, and we're going to need more help. There are a lot of other areas in the country that are a lot less fire prone, and so their firefighters are being sent here to help us, and we appreciate that. So I definitely don't want to get through this segment without at least acknowledging CAL FIRE firefighters, not only inside the state but outside as well.
They are absolutely putting their life on the line, and so, and I don't want to get too far into details here, but the Hennessy fire / the LNU complex fire, which is the greater North Bay giant fire complex, is moving into Vacaville. And those are the moments that firefighters put their lives on the line to protect your homes, right?
Those non-rural, those more suburban-like communities.
Right. And we saw it with, I mean, you know, the campfire in Paradise was a little bit different just because it was faster than anything we've ever seen. But you heard stories on the car fire in Reading about, you know, firefighters running around neighborhoods, soaking houses, and being surrounded by fire. You know, it's the firefighter, I should know his name. The firefighter who died on the car fire, who was surrounded
by Stokes.
Jeremy Stokes. Yes, thank you. He was surrounded in a dozer, and he just said, "I have nowhere to go." And so this is the danger that comes with this time of year. I don't know how we're going to come out of this psychologically. We're already pretty messed up psychologically as it is. We have the worst year ever with the quarantine, with the elections coming up. God, shoot me now. And now wildfires. It's like, it's just never ending. You know, I think people don't, well, probably people do realize that a lot of this is coming from the wintertime and our lack of winter. And that's why it's such a big deal every year to track our water, to know that these things are coming. And especially if you live in a vulnerable area, which, you know, I've talked about it to people that live up in Nevada City and Grass Valley. That's a very vulnerable area. And so they know, and they stay prepared, most of them, I'm sure. But this is just, it's a very dangerous time. And, you know, we're going to keep updating all these situations on the website. So just everyone stay safe. You know, if you're in an area that, you know, could be affected, just pack up and go. You know, it's not worth sticking around. I'm stubborn. I'm the type of guy that would do that, but just don't do it because it's stupid. It's not worth putting your life on the line for this stuff. So that's all I got. You got anything else?
No, I mean, you know that I work in Napa, and there's a huge fire in the Napa-Sonoma area, and there's a lot of wineries and jobs and people's homes that are at threat there. So, and that's not the only area. So, you know, I don't want to just pick them out specifically, but everyone stay safe out there. You know, be cautious. Just like you said, do what you can.
Yes. Let's lighten things up. Stay safe out there. Let's get to the news out of the week.
Definitely a light story to start things out. Netflix named Weed, California, as one of the funniest towns in America.
I'm not exactly sure why they did this. I guess this is just a marketing campaign. So they came out and they parked this truck under the big weed sign, and it said, what did it say? Comedy is for the blunt. Catch our drift, weed. And they parked, I guess it's just a marketing ploy for Netflix. And then they bought everyone's meal at the High-Low Cafe that day to celebrate. So, first and foremost, yes, this is great. This is it's perfect. Weed is a funny town name, you know, because they have banked on the fact that it is the slang for marijuana, and they banked on that fact for a long time before weed was even legal. And I think it's just it's a cool little marketing campaign that they did, and they had like a video on Facebook, and they're trying to get people, I guess, to watch their comedies by using Weed California. I don't know. It's a weird thing, but I thought it was pretty cool.
I think it's a fun story. You know, I think this is a great kind of example of guerrilla marketing. Just putting a sign like that on the side of a truck, and you could see the picture on activenorcal.com. Of course, it's going to get the locals talking. It's going to get on Instagram. I love that they bought the everyone's meal at High-Low Cafe. High-Low Cafe, if you're not familiar, we did an Eating NorCal video there, which you can also see a link to that in the article on activenorcal.com. But yeah, I mean, the show isn't out yet, so we don't really.
I don't think it is a show.
It's got to be. I mean, they're not
clear on
this. It's not going to be a movie, though, right? It would be more of a series, probably.
I guess. It wasn't very clear why they're doing all this, but yeah. It's whatever, it'd be cool to have a show about weed California on Netflix. We love weed, Siskiyou County there. So I thought we can go through some of the funny stories about weed California. You ready? So first and foremost, weed is known to sell I Heart Weed California shirts, and it's a play on words, and it's a bunch of stoners driving on I-5 that want to have a funny, ironic t-shirt.
Not just stoners, just anyone that wants an ironic shirt.
Very true. We have weed stuff all over our studio just because we love the town.
We have a TikTok.
We have a great TikTok of you going into one of those stores and buying all the stuff. So there's a couple stories, and I won't get to them all. So first and foremost, there was a sign in Weed, California, and when you get off I-5, there's a junction that you turn one way. You turn to if you're coming north, or going south on I-5, to the left is downtown Weed, and to the right is the College of the Siskiyous. So the sign just said Weed with an arrow this way and College with an arrow that way. Now, if you're in college, or if you're just a youthful person, that sign would look really good in your house, in your dorm room, in your man cave, whatever. So it kept getting stolen. It kept getting stolen. It kept getting stolen. There's a ton of photos online of people in front of the photo, laughing. And luckily, this wasn't in the time of social media, because it probably would have gotten a ton more. So they ended up, finally, it got stolen so many times that they put up this super elaborate sign, College of the Siskiyous this way, downtown Weed, California that way. So it doesn't get stolen anymore, but I always love that story.
I do too. Weed, they take advantage of the name. And, Weed was actually ravaged by wildfires a few years ago. So any publicity we can give Weed, California, is great. And yeah,
they weren't hit too bad.
It was,
not compared to a lot of places. Right. But yeah.
But anything to bring a little tourism and a little kind of marketing to a small town like Weed, we embrace.
So another story is Mount Shasta Brewing Company. They created a marketing campaign. This was a long time ago. I don't know exactly how long, maybe a decade, before weed was legalized in California for sure. And the brewing company's marketing campaign said, try legal weed. And it's just beer. There's no weed in it. Try legal weed. So they got in trouble for this, and they actually went to court. And they ended up winning. And they still do to this day. It says try legal weed on their beers. But the guy's, rebuttal to this promoting marijuana is he said, look at Anheuser-Busch. What's their marketing campaign? This bud's for you.
Oh, there you go.
I thought that was brilliant.
Totally.
You use bud as a name for weed too.
Out lawyer them.
Well, he took on the establishment and won. So I like that guy. But
shout out to Mount Shasta Brewing Company. Their food is shockingly spectacular.
And their beer, the Lemurian
Lager.
Yeah,
I mean, their beer is what they're known for, but their food is also low-key super fire.
Super good. Their pizza, super good.
Their Cuban
sandwich,
yeah.
That's right, yeah. So anyway, Weed, California, in the news again. I feel like we talk about it a lot. Just it's a fantastic outdoor destination, right under the shadow of Mount Shasta. But it's funny too, and according to Netflix, it's one of the funniest towns in America.
Can't wait to see that show come out.
If there is a show,
we'll
we'll make sure we update you guys on that.
Okay, let's get to the next story. Lake Shasta Caverns closes as health officials designate it as an indoor museum.
Man, can we get any more confusing with these mandates and these closures? It's so weird. So Shasta Caverns closed in mid-March, like everything else, due to COVID. Then they were allowed to reopen on June 12th, which was over 2 months ago. And they've been open, and they've been doing tours for 2 months, and their tour, you get to ride across the boat. You have the bus ride up the hill. You get the great views of Shasta Lake, and then you get to go into the caverns and see the beautiful caverns.
Great experience.
So they were alerted by Shasta County Health and Human Services that they are now considered an indoor museum, quote unquote, and they had to close. So weird. They've been open for 2 months. What? I don't understand why now. Why? How have they been looking at them for 2 months? It's one of the major destinations in the area, and they close them back down. It's one thing if you determine it to be indoors and close it down in June or whatever, but it's another to open it for 2 months and then close it back down again. And they don't cite that it's a spike. They just took 2 months to determine that it was an indoor museum.
It's a tough take, definitely. What do you look at a cave-like museum, if you will, and what is it? Is it indoor? Is it outdoor? And that's kind of where these guys are. It's a little bit of a gray area, and so I do feel for the people that had to make the decision, but it is weird timing. They should have maybe been a little bit more clear with things with Lake Shasta Caverns. We love Lake Shasta Caverns. We've done a video there. We just love visiting, have been since we were kids, actually. So there are still some areas in the Lake Shasta Caverns area that are still visitable. You can still go visit.
Right.
You just can't do the cave tour specifically.
Right. So they're doing extended lake tours, which I assume you just hop on their boat and they kind of take you around and tell you some stories. They're doing some what they call private family functions. And you can also take a bus tour to the top of the mountain and sort of hike around that top area and get views. I don't know how a bus is any different than it's, the most frustrating thing about all this. And I get it. This is the first time anybody alive, 99% of people alive on this planet have not gone through a pandemic. But how have we not established what is good and what isn't? How there's plenty of buses out there. There's plenty of things going on when people are in buses, when people are indoors, but yet this is bad. It's just so confusing, and it's just weird. And I don't want to go too far into it, but we need to have someone say, this is good, this is bad, this is good, this is bad. So anyway, I feel for Matt Doyle, the GM over there, because he is going to be a upstanding citizen, and he's going to comply with these things, unlike a lot of other people are ignoring it. And he said he vehemently disagrees with the order, but he's going to respect the community and be compliant. But it's called Lake Shasta Caverns National Natural Landmark. It's a quote unquote natural, not a museum, quote unquote. So anyway, weird news. I don't know when they're going to reopen, but sending our thoughts up to Lake Shasta Caverns.
Definitely. Okay, next story, kind of a tough one also. Trails in Whiskeytown could stay closed for another 3 years following car fire damage.
So this is people keep asking us about this, and I didn't have an answer because they have been vague about when they're going to open things up. And so for anyone that doesn't know, the car fire blazed through Whiskeytown National Park, National Recreation Area in 2018, burned 90% of the park. And that includes a ton of trails, a ton of, waterfalls, a ton of different stuff that after this huge wildfire burned through it, it becomes dangerous for hikers, right? So the following year in 2019, in the summer of 2019, they opened up Whiskeytown Falls and Crystal Creek Falls. And it's like, yes, they're opening back up. Great, this is awesome. But they still haven't opened up the other places. The trail to Shasta Bali is still closed. Brandy Creek Falls closed. Boulder Creek Falls closed. So they finally gave the public an explanation. So basically, it was the fire completely messed up everything, and then we got drenched in 2019, in the winter of 2019, right after the summer of 2018, and so it completely messed up the entire erosion of the park. And the hill of Shasta, Bali. It's just, it cannot be trusted for hikers. So they basically just have to wait for nature to fix it. And not only that, they said there's also thousands of work hours to restabilize the trails and make them safe. So it's a tough dose of truth, but it's the only way that they can keep people safe in the park.
That's a good explanation. You know, anyone that's ever gone on a hike that maybe veered a little bit off trail and ended up in some really loose gravel, you know how dangerous that can be. And so basically they're like, we need to wait for the ground to settle so that we can make a more stable trail so that it's safe. So that makes sense. Obviously we would rather be able to go there now, but I'm sure they're doing everything that they can to speed up the process of recovery. It's good that there's at least some parts of Whiskeytown that are open. We went kayaking there, like a month ago now. Several hikes to the falls since
Crystal Creek Falls and Whiskeytown Falls.
So it's good that we're at least coming back a little bit at a time, but we won't be fully open for another 3 years.
And they said 3 years minimum, so it could be a lot more than that. It will be closed. The two hikes, the two waterfalls, Brandy Creek Falls and Boulder Creek Falls, will have closed for 5 years.
Wow.
That's insane. But yeah, tough news out of Whiskeytown.
Well, the last two stories are pretty lighthearted, so that's good. Next story, drone found at the bottom of the American River reveals insane 100-foot bridge jump.
Yeah, so we got Merman Mike again. Merman Mike is the dude that cruises around the waterways of the Sacramento area looking for stuff underwater. He does the American River and the Sacramento River mostly. I mean, he'll go to, the Yuba and stuff like that, but mostly he's on the Sacramento American. So he just cruises around, and either people tell him where they lost stuff and he goes and finds it, or he just cruises around and finds stuff. And he finds a lot of stuff. Check out his YouTube page, Merman Mike, but he found a drone on the bottom of the American River, and he pops out that SD card, which it's shocking that SD card, are most SD cards waterproof?
I wouldn't, yeah, I mean, I think so. I don't think that water would affect it that much. They don't have like circuitry in it. It's just kind of,
yeah.
But yeah, that's a good question.
So, well, it worked. He popped the SD into his computer, and it reveals a massive 100-foot leap off of the Truss Bridge, which is not only super dangerous, but super illegal. And
he even comments that he was kind of scared while watching it. He was the first to ever actually see this content. He didn't know this guy. He didn't know if the guy lived or died. So it'd be hard to watch. You see a guy jump off a bridge. It could potentially be his last jump.
Yeah. So I don't think he found the guy. There's a clear picture of the jumper. And my assumption is the jumper doesn't want to come forward because it is now public that he made this illegal jump. And if they announce it, that, he'll be fined.
I wonder if he low-key reached out to Merman Mike and was like, hey, it was me.
Yeah. And Merman Mike, he went on different news channels, and he basically said, I'm not judging you. I'm not condoning what you're doing, but here's your drone. Whoever took the footage and whoever jumped, whether they're different people, but it's a gnarly jump.
Absolutely. It's a great, Merman Mike's coming out with some great content with, the rings and the things that he's finding.
The $17,000 ring he found in the Sacramento River. Yeah.
And the guy that owns this footage, I guess, clearly wouldn't be coming and asking for the drone. The drone has got to be completely ruined being underwater that long. And so really what he would be hoping for is just to collect the content. But honestly, Merman Mike might have made that content more relevant because it was like kind of went viral. And so, if there's no other cool videos on it, it might even just be better just to kind of leave it alone.
Merman Mike must have just, I'm sure he posted it on social media, and then the news outlets reached out to him from there. But he's just using this for press, right? He doesn't necessarily care that someone...
No, it's an electric video. It needs to be shared, and Merman Mike found it first. Might as well.
if you find the content at the bottom of the river, that's your content.
1,000% agree.
I don't know what the copyright infringement rules on that are, but I'm claiming right now that he gets to use that content for his own. My question is, and I actually, with the people who jump off Bernie Falls and they get video of it, an illegal jump, I wonder if authorities will go and find that person if they are publicly, announced and just send them a ticket. I wonder if that's how it's done. Because I know, like Nick Coulter, who jumped off Bernie Falls, he got a ticket in the mail.
That's right. I forgot about that.
I think it was like $150, but so I wonder if they publicly announced who jumped off this, and they'd be like, okay, yeah, we found him in the database. Here's a ticket for you.
It wouldn't shock me, definitely.
It wouldn't shock me either. But the jump it's big and it's scary, and this guy is kind of a badass for doing it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, last story of the day. This is a fun one. Rob Lowe searches for Bigfoot in Northern California wilderness.
Yeah, I actually love Rob Lowe, and
Same.
I saw that he was on Joe Rogan, so I was doing some stuff, and I threw in the podcast, the Joe Rogan podcast, which I don't listen to a ton, but every once in a while he's got some really cool people on. And I'm listening, and Rob Lowe is talking about going into the Northern California wilderness and searching for Bigfoot. And I'm like, holy shit, this has got to be awesome.
Electric content.
So he... by the way, go on activenorcal.com and you can see the full episode. It's an A&E episode, and his show is called The Lowe Files, where it's basically him and his two sons just go around doing weird stuff. They look for weird stuff, and they looked for some weird human ape or something in the Ozarks. But one of the episodes is he gets a Bigfoot hunter. The guy's name is Matt Moneymaker. I don't know if that's his real name, but it's a sweet name. And they go into the Hoopa Wilderness, and they search for Sasquatch. And it's so, I know you didn't have time to watch the whole episode. It's a 30-minute episode. The guy, the Moneymaker guy, he is like, yeah, I've seen them up there all the time. He's like, yeah. I see it's. He's like, it's so easy to find them up in the Hoopa Wilderness.
Hoopa Wilderness, that's a Native American area.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that there's probably legends. I would love to get some I love Bigfoot conversations. When we were rafting down the Trinity, our guide Glenn told us about how they filmed apparently a terrible Bigfoot movie that's apparently on Netflix. I haven't seen it. On the Trinity River. I love all Bigfoot content that's put out. So I haven't yet watched this. You're right, but I will be watching this A&E episode.
Well, if you don't mind me spoiling it a little bit, they don't find Bigfoot. Yeah, they don't see Bigfoot, but it is cool because they go deep into the Hoopa Wilderness, and the Hoopa tribe doesn't allow a lot of people to go into the wilderness area that is their area, which is completely fair. But this actually did show some really rare scenes of that wilderness, sort of surrounded by the Shasta Trinity National Forest, and it's pretty cool to see back there. He also goes to the Bigfoot Museum in Willow Creek, and they sort of talk about the lore of Bigfoot in Northern California. It's just so cool to me because Rob Lowe gets this show where he can do wherever he wants, and he goes around the country and he searches for stuff, and he says, I want to search for Bigfoot. I'm heading up to NorCal.
And they're like, yes.
And you really need to watch this because Moneymaker is, he's got the ponytail with the long hair, and he's just so matter of fact about Bigfoot being in the area.
Oh yeah, just come here. I'll show you where Bigfoot lives. No big deal.
Yeah. So after posting this, we actually got a message from someone about a book, and this could be our next book club book.
Uh-oh.
It's called The Hoopa Project: Bigfoot Encounters in California.
How old is the book?
The book is 2008.
Okay, 12 years old.
2008. It's got fantastic reviews on Amazon.
Sweet.
And for some reason, it's a $30 book. It's $33 on Amazon for some reason, but it has fantastic reviews, and it's basically a former police investigator goes into NorCal and gets all these different, he's conducting an investigation of Bigfoot through a police's.
That sounds badass.
Yeah. So, he starts his, from the 1958, which was the original time that someone first saw Bigfoot in NorCal. He starts there, and then he works his way up, and it's called the Hoopa Project. So I'm gonna read it. If you want to read it with me, and we could do a podcast, that'd be great. I'm pretty stoked on it. But it looks like a pretty sweet book.
Look forward to that.
NorCal, the unofficial home of Bigfoot.
Absolutely. And that completes and concludes our NorCal Notes of the Week.
Okay, that does it for the Notes of the Week. Let's go to the dude, the NorCal dude himself. Let's talk with Shon Northam. Now we'd like to welcome onto the podcast his dudeness, the NorCal duder, Shon Northam. We have to start about how I actually know, or how we found out about you. And that is from your viral video on McCloud Falls. So we reposted a video of a person that we did not know with a large gray beard, and you can't really tell, but the guy looks like he's 70. And you continue to fall off of the waterfall as you're attempting to go off in a kayak. So tell me the story. What happened? What's the story behind kayaking for dummies at Lower McCloud Falls?
Oh my God, dude, that was such a fucking full-on yard sale on that thing. So I'm just gonna talk, and then you guys can do whatever. So I got into whitewater kayaking about 5 years ago. I was actually dropping a deuce and reading a story about a guy who was a lawyer and got into whitewater kayaking to kind of like wipe the mind clean, right? Just as a way to sort of be more present in life. I'm like, well, shit, literally and figuratively, that's a great idea. So I'm like, fuck it, man. I'm going to go buy a whitewater kayak. So I was in Tahoe. I bought a whitewater kayak, and I'm like, I want to go drop some waterfalls. So I bought this Necky Crush, which is like this old school whitewater kayak. It's a tank, like a Sherman fucking tank. And I took it out on a lake, and I just did circles out and back, and I panicked because I'm like, I didn't know the difference between a whitewater kayak and a lake kayak. So that adventure didn't work out very well. Then I bought a Jackson Karma. And I thought, okay, what am I going to do with this thing? Well, rather than learn how to kayak, I'm like, let me just go drop a waterfall. So I actually went up to McCloud Falls, Lower Falls. And I dropped it, and it worked. And I'm like, yeah, man, I fucking dig this. I want to do it again. So I started kayaking, couldn't get my roll down, got insecure, got all up in my ego, and then I got into whitewater rafting. I'm like, this is a shit, because I don't have the time being like a criminal defense lawyer to go put in to get my skill sets where I want to be, to go do the shit I want to do. So then in a raft, I'm like, I can do class 4 or 5 shit and go do super bomb shit. And then screw kayaking. But then I went out and started watching some more kayaking videos, and I'm like, all right, I'm not a quitter. Spitters are quitters, and I'm like, I'm not a quitter. So let me stick with this. And I bought another kayak, the Dagger Nomad. And so I went with my buddy Spencer up to Lower McCloud Falls. I took the kayak in Oregon. Oh my God, I went skydiving the weekend before. It was fucking amazing, out of a helicopter. That was badass. But I bring the kayak back, and so we get up there, and you could see that there was a landslide that it basically, if you're at the river staring down, so river right is where the falls drop in.
Right.
River left is where that big landslide came down, right? And so, so a week before, there was somebody that was life flight out there because the kids dove in. They didn't depth check it. They didn't do like what a lot of us do, which is you just go, oh, that's my local swimming hole. I know it. I'm just going to go fucking send it, right? So there's a guy that was scuba diving for gold. He's like, oh, yeah, there's a big rock in here now. And I started getting super, super sketched. And I'm like, I know that waterfall. I know if you're standing at the top of the waterfall, you got to go river right, because river center, there's a ledge rock just about a foot underneath where the pillow hits, right? Notwithstanding the whole landslide thing on the left. So, but I was sketched out, and I was just in my fucking head. I'm in my ego, and I'm like, man, I don't know. And I hadn't paddled that kayak before. I hadn't paddled a kayak like in 2 years. and I was super like, I had negative confidence going in, right? Like it's like me walking into the bar looking like this and trying to pick up on the hottest chick and go like, there's no way this chick goes to like a homeless nomadic looking dude. Like that's not her get down, right? So Spencer and I spent literally probably 45 minutes scouting, plotting, thinking, how can I send this waterfall, right? Spencer's like, are you gonna do it? I'm like, fuck no, I'm not gonna do it, dude. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. It's sketchy. I'm entitled. You know, and then there's that moment of like, you know, hashtag YOLO. Dude, life is short.
Yep.
You only, you know, we only have, and I totally believe we only have a limited quote unquote time in this consciousness, right? And I happen to believe in reincarnation, and I'll keep coming back. But really, whether it's reincarnation or not, we have about 80 or so years, give or take, what we think, and we have this illusion of control over our lives, which I think is an illusion. But you know, I'm gonna live every moment. I'm gonna live in the present moment, and I'm gonna send it. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna go do it. So I get up there, and I'm like, you know, I'm just not feeling it. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And I'm in my head, and it's almost like every podcast, I'm like, there's gonna be a technical fucking issue, and then there is. So what happens is, I get up there at the top of the launch, and I'm like, this is not where I want. I want to send it from here. I want to send it from a different spot, and then I'm like, fuck it, just go do it, right? So I start toweling, and it's, I mean, you guys have seen the video. It's just sketchy from the get-go, right? I'm so uncomfortable. I froze, man. And, you know, it's a funny thing when we're in that precipice of the moment. And sometimes, like when I'm in trial and I'm picking a jury, I love being in that moment of I'm about to launch, right? Because in the jury trial, the energy shifts and it becomes intoxicating and it's good. And here, I literally just choke. Like I just full on choke. And I'm sort of bouncing. And I knew I didn't want to pull the skirt. And I just panicked. And I fucking hit the eject button. And I'm out and I'm bouncing. And I know I'm going over. And I'm like, shit, I'm going to get really fucked up here because there's that ledge drop that's really about a foot underneath the pillow. And I know I fell left instead of falling right, which is really the wrong way to fall. And so as those nanoseconds going over the falls, I'm like, compound fracture. Do I have my garbage GPS for an SOS because I don't have cell service out here? I mean, it's crazy. I'm sure you guys have experienced this, how the mind will slow down. The mind's frenetic. It's going 100 miles an hour. You're panicking. Also, it's like, I am your father. What the fuck just happened? And I'm bouncing, and then I'm off, and I'm like, here it comes. And I hit and I land, and my left rib cage lands on my kayak. And then I'm okay, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm okay. Like I'm kind of like, okay, there's no major pain. I got a little soreness in my left rib cage, but I'm like, I didn't feel any excruciating, you know, bone fractures, or I didn't see any blood in the water. There was no great white sparkling. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be okay. And then everyone's like, fucking AJ, that was crazy. And then Spencer is like this, it's like, you gonna send it again? No, bro, I'm not gonna fucking send it again. Are you gonna send it one time? He's like, no, I'm not sending that shit. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm not gonna send it again, dude. That was stupid. Like that was just stupid. So we packed it up, and I just sort of walked away going, you know, in the universe of circumstances of things that could have gone wrong, much like in life, it worked out. You know, like it was not the best, you know, drop off of a waterfall, but it was, you know, and now I'm like, I've got my whitewater raft, and so now I'm looking next year, I'm going to go on a little mini tour, because I want to start dropping some waterfalls and do some world records in my whitewater raft, and so now I'm like, well, okay, if I can go fuck up this waterfall, let's go see what I can do. What's bigger than that, right?
Yeah. So Spencer got video of your bad drop off of Lower McCloud Falls, and we got a hold of it somehow, and we reposted it, and it went viral. It got like 150,000 views in a week, and I felt bad because it was more of the caption that said, you know, kayaking Lower McCloud Falls for dummies, but it I felt bad. So we went and we corrected and we wrote an article that said, hey, this guy, he's not a complete dumbass. And no, he's not 80. He's not 80 years old. And so I actually
now I'm 80. Good job. Increasing that age, Zach.
So I actually went back today and I found the video and I found the comment section, and I just wanted to remind you of a couple of the comments from the video.
Oh, dude, bring it, dude, bring it. So I'm gonna interject, dude. I love self-deprecating humor, and I had since high school, because in high school I was this diminutive little figure. I was tiny and red hair, freckle face, big ears, buck teeth. Right? It's people call me Howdy Doody, right? And Alfred E. Newman. And so, early on, the way I sort of processed all that was, people laughing is a good thing, because laughter is such an amazing healing energy, right? And when you can get people to laugh, and when I pictures, if I can get them laughing, it's okay, I've got a connection with them. And so I've always said, laugh with me or laugh at me. I don't give a fuck as long as you're laughing. That's all that matters, right? So let's get some comments, dude.
No, so I only wrote down 3 because a lot of people were just saying oh, he's stupid. And, everyone's so brave when they're in the comment section. It drives me nuts. But
yeah. Keyboard warriors, right?
One person said, who gave this homeless guy a kayak?
Dude, I love that, dude.
Another person said, is that a gray beard on this person? If so, how has he gotten this far in life? And then another person said,
"Oh my god, dude, that was brilliant."
Another person said, "Yikes! No brain, no pain." So it's the I always tell people to avoid the comment section, but it's pretty funny when you can laugh at yourself. And you eventually went back and you sent that waterfall, and you successfully did it, right?
I did. So I sent it again, and it was a much better drop. I love those comments. If you're so serious that you can't laugh at yourself on certain moments, then I think sometimes you probably should call a therapist or read a good fucking self-help book, because you're really believing in what I believe is the illusion of this life. And so, dial it back a little bit, Waldo, right?
Yeah, I'm mostly concerned with the people who feel like their time is most spent productively in the comment section of Facebook and talking about other people's life. That's my issue, and that's a whole nother issue. But so basically, this is this is how we first came across you, long and the short, and we ended up meeting you a couple weeks ago on the Trinity River, on the river, and we said, man, you should come on our podcast. And you said, only if I can drink while we do it. So we got a couple beers here. We're gonna crack a beer. And
my assistant is actually going to give me another scotch. Dude, that was a good beer. I was just drinking those up in Oregon.
So I've actually gotten really into rafting these last couple of years. And you told us your story about how you sort of got into it. What are your favorite places to go in NorCal?
Okay, so not to digress, but I don't have favorites, and here's why I don't use that word. I feel like when we use the favorite word, we're in a way, this is my own projection of life, we're in a way minimizing the experience with another river, right? And so every river, every event in life has an experience that the universe is giving to us, right? I would say if I had to pick another river to raft before I died, that would be sort of the analogy I would use of, okay, this is the river I would do. I will tell you, in NorCal, or no NorCal, the UK is one of my favorite rafting trips. The Cal Salmon, fucking beyond belief. It's big, it's burly, it's gnarly, it's technical, but the Scott River is absolutely one of the most, what I would call a mid-volume, hardcore, technical, work your fucking ass off paddle river to whitewater raft. It is, and you've got to catch the flow. So the first time I went Momentum in 18, we ran the Cal South, but the river was, the flows were low, so we couldn't run the Scott. In 19, we obviously had a huge fucking epic winter, right? So there was great snowpack. And so the melt came down, and running the Scott, dude, I was blown away at how much work it took to get the raft in the right spot. And as you guys have imagined or probably experienced, sometimes you paddle with people who don't know how to paddle, and you cannot always get your raft into the spot you want to get it into, right?
Yep,
Right.
I know that well.
Yeah. Oh, dude. So my first big rafting trip was on the Cal Salmon, and on my raft there was an amazing guy, Vikram, who was from India, trapped guys all over the world. He's directly behind me, so I'm basically on port side up front. I'm set the pace. Was a guy named Caverns. Amazing energy, fucking amazing human being. And Caverns basically taught me how to paddle. Dig in, pull with your core, bring it to your waist, go forward, right? Not this arm shit. So there were times we were paddling on the Cal Sal where I could feel her energy and her daggers in my back because I'm fucking up the paddle stroke. And what she told me is, look, if you can't paddle, that's fine. But I'm not going to go swim a Class 5 rapid because you can't paddle. So here's how you have to paddle. And so that's, in a way, the lecture that I give people on the boat with me. I'm like, look, I'm not trying to be a dick, but we're running big shit here. And so this is the proper paddle stroke. We need to be in sync. If we're not, the boat's going to get out of shape. It could flip. And we're going to have not a fun day. So if I had to pick, man, if you told me I could only raft, fuck, that's a good fucking question. If I could only raft one more river in Northern California, shit, dude, I don't know if it would be the California salmon or the upper Klamath. I mean, can we expand to Southern Oregon, or are we going to stay in Northern California?
No, that's breaking the rules.
Damn it.
Damn
the rules, bro.
No.
Damn the rules.
No, so have you done most of the rivers in the area?
I would say I've done well, yes. No.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I've rafted a lot. There's a few sections I haven't done. I haven't rafted Bird Ranch Forks, BRG. That is a highly technical river where, people die. So before I go raft that, and it's a matter of making sure that I'm just not some statistic. And so speaking of Spencer, right? I got a funny story. So Spencer, when he's first getting into kayaking, he's like, well, I want to go run the Trinity. I said, well, let's go run a Class 1, Class 2 run. So we go up and we're doing basically below Lewiston Dam, right? It's a Class 1, Class 2, super mellow run. So at some point we eat an edible, right? And I'm really not like a pot smoking kind of a guy, right? My wife gets stoned all the time. I'm not. It's just sometimes I get paranoid. But like, fuck it, I'm in nature. Let's eat an edible. So we eat this edible, and I hadn't paddled in a while, but I'm on Class 1, Class 2. I'm like, okay, I'm okay. And then we come to this fork in the river, and the edible's coming on. I'm feeling pretty fucking high. And river right, there's these strainers, and then there's this big down pine tree that's running horizontal along the river surface, and it's probably a good 200-foot pine tree. And then river left is a couple strainers that are poking up, but you can kind of shoot the channel and you'll be okay. And Spencer and I had the following discussion. Like, I don't know, bro. I kind of think river right looks fun. I'm like, I'm fucking stoned, dude. And I'm not going to drown on a Class 1, 2 river. I go, that's not cool. And yes, I'm being in my ego right now, but let me just say this. If I'm going to make a fucking headline, I'm dying on a Class 4 or 5. I'm going out big. I'm not going to go out because I'm fucking stoned and I slipped and I got tangled up in a pine tree on a Class 1 river and I drowned because I'm a dummy, right? That's technically kayaking for dummies right there. So we want to lend some credence to your title, kayaking for dummies. It's being stoned, running a river that's got a strainer on it, and you don't know how to roll up. Or just run a river with a big strainer on it, because that's just stupid. And there's guys that can do that shit. But so we ran river left, and it all worked out. But I don't even know where you're going with that question. I forgot. Did I answer the question?
Not really, but it was entertaining nonetheless.
So yeah, but getting back to what rivers I run. So BRG is a matter of making sure I've got my skill set to where I minimize the risk. And if honestly, if I go toe up on BRG, it is what it is. Yeah, I have a small salad mom. I have a partner who loves me, and there's all that stuff.
So okay, so not to therapize you, but a lot of rafting is sort of seating control, right? You're working for stuff, and for the most part, you can control where you're going, but you are at the mercy of the water, and that's, you sort of like that because it is a greater metaphor for the world that we live in, I suppose, right?
Yeah, that's actually it's a good fucking very astute of you, Zach, my man. Do you have any great poem by chance? But it's actually it is a metaphor for how I live my life, and I think a lot of like stuff that I'll do like on Facebook or whatever is like hashtag fluid life, hashtag flow, right? Because you can only do so much, and you can only I think that we have very little control on it, so we can only put in place certain things to help minimize risk, and then you got to flow, and that's the beautiful thing about a river is the flow.
Yeah, absolutely. So you moved to Reading, what you said 10 years ago?
Right.
Yeah. That's where we're from. We grew up there. Give me your 3 favorite outdoor destinations in the Reading area.
So I don't have favorites, but if you
I forgot. I'm not allowed to use that word around you.
God
I forgot.
Damn it, Zach. The fuck are you doing with this interview right now?
List 3 random outdoor destinations.
Okay. Hey, Brian, is this the time when I should talk about active listening in America?
Absolutely. Please.
Oh my God. I'm just fucking with you, Zach.
I know.
Here's a quick segue, Rob. I love the energy that you guys have. I love your guys. I love Active NorCal. I was talking with Amy, and she told me to watch the F-bombs because there's a lot of families that read your guys' stuff and appreciate what you guys are putting out there. She's like, so don't fucking curtain. Just kidding. It's just on it for me. She's like, don't drop a lot of F-bombs because she's like, I want a lot of people, they read this Active NorCal, and I want them to be able to enjoy this program, right? So I just want to say, I appreciate what you guys are. You guys put good juju in the universe, man. And so you guys are good souls. And I like to see, like, it seems to be growing, and it should, because this is a good energy to put in the universe. Dude, Northern California is fucking amazing. We have so many amazing things to do out here, right? And when I was growing up, I didn't know about the Upper Klamath. I didn't know about the California salmon. I was really all about getting stoned, drinking, driving fast, banging chicks. Well, not much has changed, but hey, my wife is here listening, so. But if you told me I had a road trip and I had 3 places to go to before it was time for me to check out of this life, I would no doubt run the California salmon, that canyon. If you guys don't want to take a road trip, dude, go up there. If you go through like either Etna or Callahan, and it's a super sketchy road, and it's kind of lawless. Like it's not quite Deliverance, but it's a different vibe, man.
We
know. But that river is fantastic. Okay, yeah. Well, then you guys know, yeah. Squeal. So I would hit the Cal salmon. I would probably spend some time on Mount Shasta. I love her. I love that mountain. Headwaters. In the last few years, they've done some things with it that's a little, I don't want to say corporate, but they've sort of taken away, I think, some of the natural energy of Headwaters. But Headwaters is a really special place. I mean, that you've got water flowing out of Mount Shasta that's been in Mount Shasta for 50 plus fucking years, right? I mean, you can feel the healing powers of that water as it goes on your lips, on your tongue, all the way down. I don't want to break the sex right now, but kind of the same thing in my head, right? That's where my head jumps. But so I run on the California salmon. Oh shit! Wait, what's my boundaries again?
Northern California.
Okay, so I would run the California salmon, Mount Shasta, and then I would go spend time over in Trinidad. I love the North Coast, and Trinidad has Big Lagoon is one of my favorites, not favorites, but I love the energy of that campground. So if when I'm going through stuff in life, I often find myself camping at Big Lagoon.
Shon, when you're gonna represent someone in court, what's the look that they give you when they actually see your face and your presence and your beard? Is it positive?
It is, but I have a couple stories on that. So typically, my first client interaction is the public defender has a conflict, so I'm going to take over the case. If it's not a private case, because I do court-appointed work. So I go in, and fortunately, for the most part, my reputation inside of jail is pretty good. The fellas know that if you have Shon, you tend to have things tend to work out for you. And I don't think it's me. I just think I'm a fucking conduit. Energy flows into me and energy flows out of me. The universe puts me in place to do what it is I need to do, right? But I have the fun conversation with them because oftentimes they'll be like, bro, my life is in your hands. And I'm like, no, it's fucking not. You fucked up. Either you were with somebody that did something or you did something. I don't fucking care. I'm rowing a boat. You're on an island. I'm rowing over to you. You're going to get in my boat. You and I are going to have some conversations. And I'm either going to row to trial or I'm going to row to a plea bargain. Sometimes we're going to row to a dismissal. But most part, it's a trial or plea. I don't give a fuck where we row. I'm rowing. At some point, you're going to get out of my boat. And I'm going to go home and have a scotch. But I will tell you, it's not that I don't care about you. I just understand this is your karma. And I'm here to help you on your karmic path. And so recognize at some point you and I are going to talk. I'm going to give you my opinion on what I think you should do. And if you ignore it, that's fucking fine. Because if we go to trial, well, things tend to work out when I go to trial. My clients have a lot of success at trial. But I will tell you, if I think that you should resolve your case, then you should resolve your case. But if you want to say, fuck it, man, I want to roll the dice, then fuck it, we're going to go to trial, right? But at the end of the day, I'm getting out. You're going away on your karmic journey, and I'm going back on mine. And so the facial expressions are funny when I go to that conversation because they look at me like, there's this look of like, what is dick? When I'm like, I'm going to get out, I'm going to have a scotch. And then I think that they get it because as I talk about, look, I'm not attached to the outcome of your case. I'm attached to doing a great job for you. I'm attached to working my ass off for you. And apparently, my wife and I watched the movie a couple months ago where there's this quote where it's like, you don't get to choose what you're good at. Like, motherfucker, because I'd be in a rock band, bro. Like, if I could sing, I'd be doing some reggae shit. It would be fun. But I said, this is apparently what I'm good at. And so, I work my ass off, but ultimately you decide where we're going to go. And that's all on you. And I'm not attached to the outcome of your case because I did that before where I got attached to the highs and the lows. And I won a bunch of trials after I left being a prosecutor. And I hadn't lost a jury trial in 6 years. And all this other stuff that feeds the ego. And the universe said, boom, motherfucker, let's humble you. And I got humbled. And so now when I talk with them, they go through this sort of, strange spectrum of emotions, and they come back to like, all right, good, bro. And I'm like, look, I got you, dude. Like I know I've been doing it for years. I'm like, look, I got you. Things will work out. They're like, okay, cool. And so if they haven't heard of me before, I tell them, look, go upstairs, talk to the fellas, and then when I see you next, you let me know if you want to listen to my advice. And pretty much the next court date, like, bro, whatever you need, I got you, Shon. Just do what you do. I'll be patient. Do what you do.
Shon, you're a fascinating human being. Let me tell you that. You are a ball of energy, and you don't see a lot of defense lawyers out on the river, drinking beers and hitting class 5 rapids and stuff. So I love it, man. You're awesome. I love your vibe, and we're gonna have to have you on here again because I know you have a million more stories that we just have to hear.
Oh my God, dude.
But thank you for having a sense of humor with our posts with your waterfall snafu, and yeah, man, we hope to keep in touch with you and do some more stuff like this.
Yeah, I know. It's funny because somebody sent me this like the kayaking for dummies, right? And then was reading the comments, and I was like, oh man. And then I'm like, all right, cool, dude. Like if we can entertain people, like I don't care. Like I don't. And so it's funny because you guys did the article, which by the way. Good job on that because I tend to do a little crazy shit and I do love playing with rattlesnakes. Like that's just not a stick. Like we got to the UK and I was looking for rattlesnakes to kind of play with them. And then everyone else was looking like, you're just fucking insane, bro. And I'm like, nah, man, it's a good rush, right though. You feel alive when you're in front of a rattlesnake.
That's
feel
right.
Super present in that moment. So I met you guys and like I said, I know that we all live in a time where we have to earn a living. And I just felt that you guys, either it's just funny or living, whatever it may be, because you guys really do put out a super good product. And it's about time, I think somebody, I'm hesitant to use the word exploit, but I think it's about time that somebody exposes all the cool shit that we have in Northern California, like actual Northern California, right? Because Sacramento's got amazing shit. I was down there for 10 years, but I was caught up on the fucking hamster corporate wheel. I didn't go whitewater rafting. I didn't, I did Salmon Falls mountain biking stuff, right? Like we would do single track shit. But man, there's a lot of life to be had out there. And you guys, I think, putting out that energy of like, hey, go do shit. Get out there. Carve a fucking diem, man, right? So I
appreciate it, man.
You guys for doing that.
There
you go, dude.
That's why we do it. That's why we do it. Yeah. Well, man, thank you so much for coming on again. We're gonna have you on again. So,
okay.
But yeah, man, I appreciate it.
Oh, dude, always. Blessings and namaste, man. Much love, dude.
All right, much love, Shon. See ya. All right, that was our very interesting interview with Shon Northam. He is a fascinating guy. He's literally representing double murderers in court and then heading out onto the river and hitting those whitewater rapids. Fascinating character.
Very, very fascinating.
But he's got a good vibe, and we like him a lot, so we're going to try to have him on again. But that's it for this week's episode. Thanks for listening, guys. Remember to follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, wherever,
all the
TikTok, all the
places.
Usuals. And I just want to say, I hope you're being safe out there. I hope you guys are, dealing with all this wildfire stuff appropriately. And thank you, as always, to the firefighters, the officials, CAL FIRE, anyone who's putting their life on the line for us to keep us safe. We appreciate it. Thank you. And remember, stay active.
NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and I could spend all day just chilling in the South Bay. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and Darren knows how to kick it down in Santa Cruz. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and we get a little cray-cray when we visit the East Bay. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and we get a little mental when we visit Sacramento. Yeah, we're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and we protecting nature's bounty when we visit Humboldt County. Yeah, we're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and me, I'm hella cool, 'cause I'm a Vince Sebastopol. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and you know that we got